We're so excited. And if you're watching, before we introduce ourselves, the reason we're here is because we're going to cover a very hot topic. I get a lot of people, and I know you do as well, Jessica, who
Mhm.
reach out. Maybe they're skeptical about career coaching. Um, and I think we are at a point in time with any business, even any individual, where trust is low. There's a
Yeah.
lot of salesy and marketing advice out there that I believe waters down what career coaching is. There are a lot of questions and hesitation in terms of clients determining if career coaching is the right fit for them or what program they should sign
Mhm.
up for. There have even been people who have reached out to me and have even worked with me who frankly felt like the coaching left a bad taste in their mouth.
Mhm.
Lots of programs that guarantee we will help you land a job in 90 days. And on the flip side of the coin, Jessica, you and I talked about this, is there are coaches like us who deal with all of this skepticism. And it makes it really difficult to have a positive coaching relationship. So today we're going to talk about this. Jessica and I are going to talk about this. We're going to cover a lot of awesome things. We're going to help you make the decision for yourself in terms of what coaching program is the right fit for you and if career coaching is the right thing for you. And for career coaches out there, we're going to talk about the concept of niche, which Jessica and I battled with for a long time. Who is our ideal client? Who
Yeah.
should we help with? How do we position ourselves? Um, and yeah, there's so much goodness out of it. But before we get into the whole thing, Jessica, why don't you tell people who you are and why you're excited about this topic?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm Jessica Abbey. I am a career and executive coach. I've been doing this kind of work for over 6 years. I got into this work because I really wanted to help people figure out what their professional identity is and then how to go after it. And it doesn't even mean that they have to stay in a corporate job. Many of the people that I've worked with end up running their own businesses from working with me. And I'm just excited about this conversation because I think that there's a lot of topics around career coaching that people don't quite fully grasp and understand.
Yeah,
And I think that we have this insider knowledge and experience where we can talk about it from the inside and let people in on some of the things that we deal with and that we see. And, we're not going to get every single person who's watching this to want to work with us, nor could we even possibly help that many people at one time.
nor do we want to.
No, exactly. Because not everybody is going to be right. It's a two-way street, and not everybody is going to be the best fit, and
Yeah,
vice versa. So, but what I do hope that we're able to do is to expand our reach and be able to help more people and help them understand what this is and what they can get out of it and how to approach it and how to get the success that they're looking for in their professional lives.
love it. I think I'm going to start with the most frustrating question that I keep
Of
getting
course.
that hits my nerves.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Let's
and
let's uh let's touch a nerve today.
yes, let's touch a nerve. As I shared with you, I get that a lot in terms of do you guarantee a job? Do you guarantee placements? And I think it would be worthwhile to educate people on the difference between a career coach and a placement agency slash recruiter. I'm going to
Mhm.
let you explain that because I'm just too like worked up to go first.
Okay, there's a lot of different professionals in the world that help other professionals. They could be placement agencies, they can be recruiting firms, they can be career coaches, they could be therapists, they could be mentors, they could be friends, right? So there's different angles by which we look at everything. And I think that when someone who is let's say they're looking for a job, like let's just kind of put it in that perspective because I think that's kind of what we're talking about. Somebody is looking for a job. If they look to us as career coaches, as placement agencies, or as like recruiters that work on their behalf, my hackles go up a little bit. Like, I feel like maybe that person, so I have to probe, right? I'm not going to just automatically assume. I'm going to want to probe and see, is this person willing to look within? Is this person willing to see themselves and then be able to communicate that value to other people? Or are they just looking for a job? And if they're looking for just any job at all, they should go through a placement agency, because they may get placed in a job. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. I'm saying it that way because some people are looking for purpose. Some people are looking to, I don't know, to give back in some way. Some people are looking to elevate themselves. Some people are looking to exercise certain skills. Those are the people who I think get a lot out of career coaching. What do you think?
Yeah, there's so much to say here. And hey, Sajid, nice to see you in this live. And by the way, guys, like, say
Yeah,
hi to
say
us.
hi.
It's
Say
so
hi. We
weird
don't
when
wanna
we
be
are
alone.
talking to ourselves.
Oh.
So really appreciate when you guys, ask questions and be part of the conversation. So thank you so much, Sajid, for popping in and letting us know you're here. I think that every type of service provider has a purpose, right?
Mhm.
I have clients who actually work with recruiters and placement agency alongside of working with me. And I have clients who also work with therapists alongside with working with me. And it's important to understand what is it that you need and what is missing for you in order to achieve your definition of success.
Mhm.
And every coach, even within career coaching, has a specialty. I don't even want to use the word niche because I also have huge qualms with that word. Um,
Sure.
but I know, as an example, and I think you are similar to me, Jessica, is my specialty is helping people figure out what they want to do next,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I coin the term career sweet spot because I believe that everyone has a sweet spot. And it's not necessarily that you need to be in a certain profession or a certain title. I believe that everyone has an incredible story, has an incredible collection of experiences, and they have a way of doing things that is different than everyone. We're all unicorns. Our stories are unique, a combination of our upbringing, childhood, exposure to different organizations is very unique. And I'm from the school of thought that you got to embrace that. You got to understand yourself so that you don't end up in miserable situations. So a lot of my work focuses on what is that career sweet spot? What is that unique value proposition? And not so much going into the mechanics of how do I send outreach and how do I cold email a bunch of people and the ABCs of how to network, because I'm from the school of thought and a lot of my clients, their issue is not that necessarily they don't know to network, even though they think that way. I believe that their issue is that they don't know what they want or they're terrified of going after what they want. And so I
Yeah.
have a lot of frameworks that help with that. Whereas a recruiter, they're better suited for you when you actually already know what you want, because
Oh,
they
yeah.
have relationships with organizations. And once they understand what is it that you want, then they can appropriately match you. And then there's also like emotional blocks, right?
Mhm.
So there's so much I can do in terms of unblocking people emotionally. And if there is trauma involved, like I had a client, for example, like she was terrified of networking. She was uncomfortable with the idea of actually just letting her network know that she's looking, and it just
Mhm.
made her very upset when we talked about it. And so I encouraged her to work with a therapist to unblock that emotional aspect. So I believe that all three, types of services can work well beautifully. And you
Yeah.
need to know what is it that you need help with in
Right.
order to find the right fit for you?
You know, yeah, for a lot of job seekers, they kind of tend to lump themselves into this kind of broad bucket of like, I'm looking for a job. As soon as they know they want one or need one, they start jumping right into the marketplace, start shopping around their resumes, start doing the things that they think they're supposed to be doing. And I think that what you're kind of touching on are a couple of different things. Like, one is sort of, we're not all just in one phase. Let's say there are distinct segments
Yeah.
of the job seeking journey. Someone will be ready to talk to a recruiter when they have established and kind of gotten through the initial stages. I remember, I'll tell you a story from many years ago. This was a long time ago. I was in a very toxic work environment.
Yeah.
People would be screaming behind the closed doors. Somebody threw a stapler at the door.
Oh my God.
Somebody just, I don't know, like, was cussing at a customer. It was so toxic. I had to get out of there. And a friend of mine got me in touch with a recruiter at his company. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And the recruiter called me up and we had a conversation and they said, well, so what do you want? And I said, oh, I'm just really adaptable. I'll do, I kind of like this and I like that. And I'm like, oh no. And she could sniff it out that I had no idea what I wanted.
Yeah.
All I knew is that I wanted to get out of that toxic work environment. I hadn't done any of the inner work at that point to be able to deliver a message to the recruiter about, here's who I am and what I want. I wasn't in that stage yet. I hadn't gone through it yet. And I was it was like leapfrogging way too far ahead in the process, which, was fine. Like, now in hindsight, I can see all of the mistakes I made as a professional, which were a lot. So I know a lot of those mistakes from firsthand experience. And then the other thing I was going to say is, you were talking about what you're really good at is helping people find their sweet spot. And I think something you're also really good at, and this is something that I feel like I'm good at, is being able to diagnose why someone has
Yeah.
not been able to achieve some kind of goal. It's like if you go to a personal trainer and you say to them, gosh, I have really been struggling to lose this last 20 pounds and I just can't figure out why. That personal trainer is not going to pull out from his back pocket or her back pocket. Okay, here's the list of things you must do. Now follow this, right? They're going to find out, what's your lifestyle? How much
Yeah.
sleep are you getting? Are you, what are your late night habits? Are you sitting on the couch, like eating bowls of cereal at midnight? Like, I'm not a personal trainer, so I don't know all the right things you're supposed to be doing necessarily, but
Are you
I can tell.
sleeping? Are you
Are
taking
you,
care of your
are you,
cortisol levels
yes, exactly.
so
There's
that you
so
don't
many
end up with belly fat?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Here's the one trick to get rid of belly fat. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
just take that pill and it's gonna go
Yeah.
away. It's gonna melt away.
Yeah.
And
So,
I think
right.
it goes back to this whole thing with, what do you think of those programs that say you're going to land a job in 90 days?
Right, right. It's like joining a fitness boot camp where they say by the end of this, your biceps are going to be this circumference and your waist is going to be this circumference. Like, how do you even know? And then there's also genetics involved.
Yeah, I really like this.
Yeah.
Asking right questions can open doors of ideas to the professional to what's next or what he or she wants. And you're spot on, Rishi, that coaching is helping you see your blind spots. And it's not about following a list and a procedure that everyone has to follow. It's
Mhm.
more about, like you said, Jessica, which you do very well, is diagnosing where the person is blocked. Because, as an example, like, there's no point in helping someone, let us say, work on their resume when really in the whole process where they're blocked is they're not saying the right things in the interview, or they're terrified of interviews, or
Mhm.
maybe it's not even any of this. Maybe it's like they're going after the wrong roles, so it doesn't matter what their resume looks like. And
Yeah.
what and the fact, is that, if you're just faking it till you make it in the interviews, it's not going
Mm.
to convert into an offer. So
No.
I agree with you. The diagnosis aspect is one of the biggest things that a career coach brings to the table. And sometimes recruiters share that insight, but just know that that's not within their scope. They're there, they have relationships, they're trying to help you, they're trying to match you. They're like matchmakers, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even with a matchmaker, like if a matchmaker, I'm thinking like, the Indian matchmaker, right? If you give a huge list to the Indian matchmaker of all of the things that you want in the, or if you're clear on all of the things that you want in a partner, it makes that matchmaker's job easier. But if you have, doubts in terms of what you want in a partner, the matchmaker is just going to keep giving you options, and then
Mm.
you're just going to keep refusing to go on a date because maybe there's something internal that you need to unblock. Maybe
Mhm.
that's scaring you from actually speaking out loud who you want in the person. Or maybe you just don't know, like you need a decision making process. You need someone to sit down with you and ask you the right questions. I have my own process of, like, helping people figure this out, but I'm
Yeah.
curious about yours, Jessica. Like, how do you help people figure out what they want to do next?
It's a mix of a lot of different things. Um, let's say, for example, so sometimes I get given clients through other agencies, right?
Yeah.
So I had not had a chance to do any kind of pre work with them to figure out where they are. So I often will ask them initially, because what they're asking for from the get-go is a
Yeah.
resume review. Now, I do the resume review in good faith that what I'm looking at is what they're wanting next. However, when I get on the phone with them afterwards, I ask them, so in order for me to really help you and to give you the best possible guidance and for you to have the most success in our work together, can you tell me a little bit more about where you are in what you know you want? Or if you don't feel like you're there yet, let me know that too. You don't, doesn't matter where you are. I just need to know. Are you expecting to be another database administrator next, or are you looking for something else? And then if I get answers like, I've really been thinking about this a lot lately. I'm not exactly sure. I know that there are some things that I like that I did before. So I'll get kind of a non-answer, but sort of like everything in one answer sort of. It's like everything
Wow.
and nothing all at once. Sometimes I get answers that are like, "Oh, I love my job. I This was my dream job." Like I was working with somebody who was an amazing, like, experiential designer that would design these amazing office buildings for gaming companies. It was like the coolest job that, like, you could go to Hyderabad or something and walk into a building that she helped to design. Like, so cool.
Wow.
Her dream job. She wanted that same job somewhere else that would hire her. That was an easy win, because now then we could just like immediately get to, okay, well, let's figure out how we're going to get there. But for the vast majority of people that I work with, they don't yet know what it is that they want. They can't articulate it. So like if they think they're on the job market now and they start doing networking, or a recruiter reaches out to them or something by some godly force or whatever, like if that person doesn't feel ready but a recruiter still reaches out, if they're not fully yet ready to articulate it, that's what I'm going to help that person be able to do. And it's going to be different for different people. Like I was saying, the person whose dream job was being like an experiential designer for gaming companies, like that is a different process from somebody who's like, I'm not exactly sure. And then I probe, like, what was it like being in your last role? What were the highlights? What were the lowlights? What made you feel alive? What made you feel like you were in your element? What made you feel, and because a lot of it is like the feelings of it, because you
Hmm.
can be logical. Well, I did my job, I fulfilled XYZ. But that's not really what I care about so much. I wanna know how you felt in it, because if there are times in your career when you felt really, really good, you felt confident, you're gonna carry those feelings into the job search. So if somebody were to ask you a story, like, "Tell me about a time when you did this," and you can cherry pick from all of your experiences the one thing that made you feel confident, successful, alive, in your element, that you were giving exactly how you wanted to, those are the kinds of things, like, people will see that glimmer in your eye. It won't be that you're just like checking off boxes in an interview. You're actually speaking from a place of passion and conviction. So it's going to be different for different people, because we could have uncovered through that process that there was a real problem in their last organization
Yes.
that is leaving them feeling really out of place in life right now. And we kind of have to probe that a little bit and figure out what that is. It's not like I'm just going to go like, "Oh, well, give me a list of every job you've ever thought about doing. Let's talk about it." Sometimes there's some other kind of deeper underlying thing, and it could have come from the last place that they worked. A bad boss, a toxic work environment, being undermined by colleagues and coworkers and managers, um, that kind of thing. What is Eve saying?
She's saying that these questions really help in my expertise too.
Oh,
Getting
good.
to a client's pain points definitely gives you a good head start.
Yes.
I 100% agree with you, Jessica. And I think for me, like, I actually have a saying where I contradict Simon Sinek and I say, don't start with your why, start
Right.
with your fears, not your why. Because I feel that the reason, I mean, the corporate world is hard, okay? We
Mhm.
go through a lot of, trauma. We go through like not getting recognition from our boss after staying up late and
Mm.
giving our heart and soul into it. That happened to me. Promotions going to people who are friends with the boss. Um, and also it can link to things that happened in the childhood. Like I wasn't told enough by my parents that I did a good job, that I'm good at what I do. And so I have been conditioned to put my head down, be a robot, and just deliver. And I would forget, do I actually love what I'm doing, even if I'm good at it?
Mhm. Mhm.
So sometimes, when we're in the treadmill, we forget about all these things. And so the first thing is I do ask my clients, like, what are all of the negative things that happened? What are the things that you're scared of? And once we unpack
Right.
that, then we can start going into, the types of problems you solve and stuff like that. I had a
Yeah.
client who was in a very toxic situation. She was at her organization for more than 15 years, and she was very fixated on becoming a scrum master. She came to me. We went through the whole process of going through her story, and we realized that a lot of what actually has been blocking her is that she hasn't been getting the recognition at her organization. And what she truly wanted to do, which is the reason she thought that Scrum Master was the good fit, is actually engage people and coach them. And I said, well, you don't have to become a Scrum Master to do that.
Mm.
And we uncovered through her story is that she's an Energizer bunny, and what she would be suited for is employee engagement.
Yeah.
So sometimes, when we go through that process, clients come to us wanting a certain thing. And then through the process, they realize they want something else. And
Yeah.
my big thing is what I tell people, especially the ones who don't want to pigeonhole themselves to a title, is your story is your niche.
Mhm.
When we go through your story, when we go through the ups and downs of your story, when we go through what you think are your weaknesses, which are the hardships that you went through, you actually realize that those challenges that you went through are actually what makes you really great at what you do. And
Yeah.
so that is where the confidence is built. I want to segue into us as career coaches and our niche.
Yeah.
To me, I think, and I think you might agree with me, Jessica, is it's not about what specific field do we help with in order to niche ourselves. It's not about having an I help you statement. I help you, I help this type of client achieve this kind of result. I think it's a lot deeper than that. And I think it is what we talked about, which is fit. Who is the right client for us? And on the flip side, client,
Mhm.
what is it that you're looking for in a career coach? So I'll let you elaborate on that as I look at some of the comments.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Like you were alluding to in the very beginning, this is kind of a question and a prompt that really threw me for the longest time as a career coach, because the idea that I would have to identify a specific avatar of a client that I would want to work with was really, really challenging,
Yeah.
because like so I think that what I know that I really that like the kind of person that I am and the kind of coach that I am is extremely holistic. So I like to be able to work with people who look at working with me as kind of like career management. It's
Mhm.
not just a one-stop shop for your resume and your cover letter and your LinkedIn profile and your interview skills. I think that when you do those things and you approach that with me, you can see the validity and the value of how all the things that you're going to be putting into that are going to translate into your career overall. It's like being able to be the owner of your own career and just know that you own your path. Nobody owns your path. Yeah, a company might pay you for a time to do a job that they hired you to do, but they don't own your path. They don't own your career. It's just one stop on the way, which, you're getting gas on a road
Yeah.
trip. So I tend to think that the people who are going to look at this less transactionally, like, give me a resume, tend to get the best results by working with me. They don't put a lot of pressure on the process. They don't rush into like a specific deliverable. I know this is kind of a very broad answer to what is my niche, that kind of thing. What kind of
Yeah.
clients, get the best out. But I've worked with people in finance. I've worked with people in the arts. I've worked with people, who run their own businesses or who wanted to run their own businesses. It's not a specific like profile. The only thing that I'm looking for really are characteristics, and the characteristics of openness, coachability, the willingness to dig deep. Because, like you were saying, how Simon Sinek is all about like, your why. And that's maybe more for organizations, I would say, maybe. But it's more about like what's the fear, what's the blockage, what's kind of stopping you. So when somebody asks you a question like, how do I network?
Mhm.
There is a world of information that is wrapped up in that question. Like, why is that person even asking that question? How do you network? Do they think that there's only one way to do it? How were they told that this is the way to do it and it doesn't feel right to them? Are
Yeah.
they afraid of reaching out to someone? Is there a fear there? Is there they don't like to ask for help? They were conditioned or taught culturally or through their family that you don't ask for help, that you have to be like a solo warrior out there in the world, and you have to get everything done by your own bootstraps. There is a world of information inside of that question that I need the client to be able to play ball with me to get there, to figure out what's behind all of that stuff.
Being honest about what you're struggling with and being
Yes.
vulnerable, right?
Yes.
Some people aren't 100% honest. It's like going to a doctor and not admitting what you're struggling with, that you're actually staying up late at night and binging. Like when
Yeah.
I hired my health coach, I was very honest with her. There were a lot of embarrassing things that I admitted that I was doing because I genuinely needed help. And I knew that, you know, at the end of the day, you look for someone who makes you feel safe. Like,
Yeah.
like you have an opportunity to evaluate if this coach is a fit. If they're making you feel uncomfortable where you can't open up, then they're not the right fit for you, right? But I felt that coach was the right fit for me because she made me comfortable enough to actually admit some of the things that I need to work on. Like I get hungry late at night. I go and finish a whole bag of chips. I don't know what's going on with me. Why am I doing this? And so I think a lot of it is vulnerability. I think this is a really good question here from Rishi in terms of what patterns do you often see in professionals who struggle the most in their career? And I want to tie it back into how I basically niche myself and determine fit. So first of all, little story, when I launched my career coaching practice, I felt like I had to be pigeonholed into I help agile folks and product people because that is the background that I came from. When I went through my personal story and I did work with a coach, and this is something that I also now coach career coaches on in order to help them identify their niche, and my clients too, funny enough, who are looking for jobs, is I looked at my whole story of how I quit over text, my whole story of hopping from one job to another and pivoting multiple times. And despite all of these pivots, I still didn't feel like I found my career sweet spot. And I tried to figure it out. And I hired a career coach to help me figure it out. And then realizing that what I actually wanted to do, regardless of title, is help people like me who are immigrants new to a country. And it's not necessarily just immigrants, people who feel like they are underdogs, like they are overlooked because they don't come from a big family or they don't come from like prestige or entitlement, right? And they're perceived as less than when they're operating at a high level. I want to help those people. So a lot of the types of clients who come to me are very similar to my personality and values because I put my story out there. And this is what I tell a lot of coaches as well. Your story is your niche. You're going to attract people like you, and you want to attract people like you because we get along and we work well when we can relate to each other. And so when you ask this question, Rishi, in terms of what patterns do you often see in professionals who struggle the most, I actually want to, you know, flip this a little bit and say that I believe that we all struggle with our career. We all feel like we're not where we want to be. We're all a work in progress. So I don't see it as someone, you know, struggling more than the other. You can be making like, I've worked with people who make $300,000 and they're not happy. They're stressed out. They barely sleep. And I helped with people who are making $100,000 and they plateau and they feel bored. So I think we all struggle. But to answer your question, the people who get the most progress are the ones who are coachable, the ones who are willing to open up, the ones who are not falling prey into, I will help you land a job in 90 days. How can you even believe that? It's like going to a personal trainer who tells you, I guarantee that you're going to lose 50 pounds in 1 month without knowing your eating habits, without knowing your hormonal profile, without knowing your genetics. Like, and then like this actually does more harm than good because now people are tying their self-worth if they don't land the job in 90 days.
Right.
Well, maybe what you get out of this is actually not landing a job. Maybe it's a promotion. Maybe it's just the clarity. Maybe you just need more time to freaking heal and think, right? And the whole process, I think the types of people that I enjoy working with are in it because they want to learn They want to become better people. They want to work on themselves, just like people who do MBA programs, who don't necessarily do it because they want to get a job, but they want to do it because they want to have more self-awareness. They want to network with other people. So I think like it's just, a lot of it is vulnerability, self-awareness, and choosing the right person. And then I'm going to let you, Jessica, answer this one. With AI-driven resume builders
Wow,
and
Rishi.
interview bots, where do you think human career coaching will still hold irreplaceable value? So
Yeah.
juicy. So juicy.
It is so juicy. It's so juicy. But I kind of want to add a little bit to what you were saying before
Sure. Go
about like
ahead.
what are some of the patterns? And I think that this kind of fits along with that.
Mhm.
Some patterns I see are in fundamental problems. What is a workplace if not just a series of relationships?
Yes,
Yes, there's
absolutely.
output, there's things that have to be done, there's money to be be made, there's deliverables. Anyway, at the end of the day, you work with people.
Yes.
People have a hard time communicating with other people.
And you got to vibe with them.
Sure, and there are people you are not gonna vibe with. How
Yes.
do you deal with that? So I think that, one of the things, and this is actually, like, in my, on my LinkedIn headline, I think I do say something about, like, communication coach, because
Yes.
so my, major in college was speech and communication studies, which I find to be very interesting because I was like, "Oh, I'm
Wow.
never really gonna use this," like, geez, it's like now what I do, I help people with their communication. I
Yes.
help them work with people. I help them treat people as other humans with user manuals that you haven't read yet. Everybody has like this operating system, and it doesn't necessarily blend really easily with your operating system.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that I see that is a pattern, is in the inability for people to have difficult conversations, the inability for people to set themselves up for success in a new workplace where they have to overwork to prove themselves, and then they've created a monster. They have to keep feeding, and it's getting hungrier and hungrier. I see the inability to, maybe not inability, a reluctance or a lack of awareness, let's say, around being able to communicate with other people what you want. I
Yes.
was just working with someone who said, "Yeah, my boss kept asking me what I wanted, and I could never really give her an answer."
Mm,
And that person had gotten laid off along with a bunch of other people. I'm not saying that that's why she got laid off,
no.
but at the end of the day, it could have been that her boss was hoping to maybe move her somewhere else, right? To like put her in a place where she felt more alive, where she came alive more, versus like that she would lead versus adapt, just being adaptable. So, again, I'm not going to know the answer to that, but I think that we as professionals kind of forget these things, that
Yes.
we are just working with people. Um, you can't necessarily just insert a prompt into a person and get the answer you're looking for. So,
So I think that should answer your question, Rishi. Actually, the second one around how do you see AI and automation changing the role of career coaching in the next few years? I want to add to this, actually. There are recent studies that actually have shown that people who overly rely on ChatGPT for critical thinking skills and communication are at a higher risk for dementia. And to answer your question around with AI resume builders, first of all, I just want to scream from the top of the mountain and cringe and do all that because a lot of you may not know this, but apart from actually helping professionals with their positioning, with their communication, with their brand. I've also helped a consultancy for pretty much a year with their marketing.
Mhm.
My specialty is messaging and marketing. This is why I've been able to increase my following to close to 45,000 at this point. And the thing about marketing and messaging, especially the believable stuff that makes people want to work with you, that creates curiosity, comes from your humanity and it comes from emotion. There are actually three basically pillars to how I teach people to build a brand and market themselves effectively. I call it the 3 C's. You need to be clear on your value proposition. You need to be charismatic in
Mhm.
terms of your ability to connect with people emotionally, and you need to show your credibility.
Mhm.
Now, the AI driven resume are good at structuring information, maybe wordsmithing. But if
Mhm.
the original ideas are not coming from you, then what you're going to have is a watered down brand with a lot of generic copycat stuff from job postings. And this is
Mhm.
exactly why people are struggling right now and not standing out. I've had
Yep.
a client who applied cold, did not tap into his network, and actually got selected out of thousands of applicants at MongoDB. And he got the offer. It's everyone's dream, remote only company. Why was his resume selected? Because the copywriting was unique, the messaging was authentic. He went deep into what it is that he did versus surface level stuff that regurgitates the job posting.
Oh,
So
100%.
I
Yeah.
actually think with AI and automation, there's going to be more need for career coaches because people
Yeah.
are lonely as heck.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of people to talk to. And the people who are going to be the most successful are the ones who are going to do things in an organic and genuine way and
Mhm.
maybe use ChatGPT to like automate the administrative stuff, but not
Sure.
necessarily to communicate their authentic voice.
100%. And I think that a lot of people think that the resume is the strategy. Like that's right. If I could just have this resume, somehow that's success. I think it's what goes into it. If
Yes.
you are looking at, like, say, for example, somebody doesn't know exactly what they want to do next, and they still are like, but I really need this resume. What I will often tell them, because I'm not going to necessarily work with them, but what I'll often tell them is like, okay, well, then just cherry pick from your background all the things that you love to do in your past jobs. I mean, like that's the only other kind of like blanket advice that I could kind of give them on that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the resume is not the strategy.
No,
Your
it's a
career,
tool.
and
It's
it's a
the
tool
output
in
of the strategy, one
and
of
so
the outputs.
right, and so for the people who are open, who believe in that they are managing their own careers, and a resume is just a tiny little fraction of that. Yeah, people love to be represented on paper in a way that makes them feel good. But what made you feel good? Did you, because there's somebody that I am working with right now who kept feeding her resume into Chat
Oh
GPT,
God.
and every time she would look at it, she would feel terrible because
Yeah.
she felt like she was being disingenuous.
It doesn't
It
it
didn't
doesn't
it didn't
understand you. It doesn't
imbue
have
her
that
with confidence.
perspective of a coach who has had several conversations with you and understands you from different perspectives and angles.
Yeah, exactly. Because an AI can really only understand based on the prompts that you give it. I mean, otherwise it's just gonna give you just really vanilla advice.
Exactly.
Just or it will give you like it will leap too fast to an answer, right? Then a lot of people are kind of using AI to just short circuit the work that has to be done really. And at the end of the day, like if you, let's say for example, you write out longhand, like, and I don't mean by writing it out with a pencil and paper. I just mean like in long form, like paragraphs, right? Of everything you loved about a job, everything that you delivered that was really great, your accomplishments and outcomes that stood out, where you moved the needle, where you impacted, what your legacy was, right? If you were able to do all of that with a career coach, then I would say if you wanted to take that information and ask an AI to structure it for you, which is basically like the structure of a resume, that would probably to me be more effective
Yeah.
than just saying to the AI, take my resume, take this job description, and now customize it for the job. 'Cause who else?
It's like
Every
garbage in, garbage out, right?
100%.
Yeah.
We've
Cool.
known that. We've known garbage in, garbage out for years. Come on. Like,
Okay, this has been an incredible conversation, and unfortunately, I have to run. It's like so funny because we thought that we were going to run out of things to talk about, Jessica, but here we
we
are.
never do. We never do. Come on.
So hilarious. But hey, guys, if you really found this useful, and if there are certain topics that you want us to talk about, um, do me a favor at a minimum, just give us a like. It's always good feedback to know if this is useful, if anyone's watching this, or if we're screaming to
Yeah.
the void. And also, if there's anything that you want us to talk about next, like put that in the comments, whether you're watching this live or the replay. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Rishi, so much for all of this awesome conversation. And
Yeah.
everyone who's been listening live, we appreciate you. And hope to see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. See you
Bye.
next time. Bye.